So when I'm trying to do the content for the channels, I usually do try to make distinct content per channel. That's why I want people to subscribe to that particular channel, whether the Kubrick channel or the fantasy channel, so on and so forth. But exceptions to the rule, and this is an exception. So once again, Zach is getting attacked in the media, and of course the partisans are lining up on both sides that Zach is a hack, Zach is a man god controlling his fascist cult with now apparently an online army, and the other side is like, no, he's okay. This is just a hack journalist who is trying to make money and grifting and isn't saying very much. Now, I think the latter is more true, and that's true because that's what the empirical facts tell us. But let's go through it thoroughly. So what is occurring? So there's a Rolling Stone article that alleges essentially the Snyder Cut is the product of mainly a phantom army of bots. Now the article itself does pinpoint the number at 13% of bots, but if you actually looked at the data closer, even that number is a little shaky. But getting into the technical details is very boring. I will do more work on this, and I will link appropriate people because they went into this very thoroughly through hours and hours. It's all very dry and boring, but basically, there's not much here. And added to this is they made certain allegations about Ray Fisher and basically told some lies, and Ray got the lawyers out, and lo and behold, the article was forced to change what it was alleging.
New bosses at Rolling Stone. So it says right here, exclusive, which is that. Interesting. Continuing on. Now, that for what has to be one of the most boneheaded moves I've ever seen in journalism, Rolling Stone editor-in-chief Noah Shachtman attempted to defend Siegel's lie that I declined to comment for her hit piece. How? By publicly furnishing misleading cropped emails, which we talked about that yesterday. And then it says right here, too bad that Shachtman had emails go both ways. Below in white, in the cropped email Shachtman chose to share with the world. Next to it in black is the full email. Observe how Shachtman's shadedly decided to include the original response and deadline and confidently note. Yeah, this was it right here. And if you don't respond, yeah, they'll say that. And
We want to be careful. Just because Ray Fisher has very good lawyers and Rolling Stone perhaps allowed a few mistakes into the article doesn't make the article worthless. They did raise a few legitimate points, and I will get to those. But in terms of its brunt charges, there are a lot of problems because Siegel apparently does have a bit of a anti-Snyder agenda, either for celebrity or money, and she tried peddling this story elsewhere, but they weren't having it. But she got lucky with Rolling Stone, and it is what it is. Rolling Stone apparently does not like Zack Snyder. Now, Rolling Stone itself did give the Justice League a very positive review, but apparently some of the editors there don't like Zack Snyder. So I'm not very impressed with her saying, I found 20 independent witnesses who tell me Zack is a terrible person. I'm sure in Hollywood and in the mediascape more generally, there probably are independently 20 people who hate Zack Snyder and don't like him. They don't like the Snyder Cut. They don't like DCEU. They don't like the Snyder fans. That's not telling me anything. That 20 people is not very impressive. And she was caught lying. And she does have an agenda. However, there were things here that I think are kind of disturbing. For instance, Zack didn't threaten her, but he did kind of word it in a way saying, you know, my fans, they can be pretty rough. Maybe you want to change the article. I myself would have advised him, just ignore her, don't talk to her, don't interact. But again, you have to realize for really a decade, he's been pounded. I mean, he's just been getting this every day. You're a Nazi, you're a sexist, you're a racist, you're a moron, you're an idiot, you're a hack, you've destroyed the DCEU, you've destroyed Warner Brothers, you've ruined Superman, you ruined Batman, you're the worst thing of all time. You're evil, 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 and it's just relentless and pounding. And these aren't small people. These videos get millions of views. These articles are read by millions of people. So after a while, you're probably going to get a little angry and you may want to retaliate. It's understandable. He's only a human being. I myself would have advised just ignore her, but he did put it out there, and I'm sure she was not happy about that and is getting her revenge. So that's legit. Perhaps Zack should be more careful when he does his clapback. He should clap back, of course. I mean, that's his right too. He has a right to free speech. But there is a more disturbing area where apparently the Godzilla director got involved, and some of the Snyder people were really going after Godzilla to retaliate against Warner Brothers. And Zack was like, "Well, I don't really control my people, so I really can't help you." I think there he's being a little bit more cynical. If that's true, I think that's a little disturbing. And that's about it. Those seem to be the only two legitimate issues they brought up. And sometimes he should have worded his statements better. That's about it. But in terms of the main charges, there's not much there. And Ray did force them back to sort of retract some basically lies they told about him. So it is what it is. It's not a very good article. I would encourage people to read it, but it doesn't appear to be anything substantive. But still, it is what it is. We're just now polarized into these two sides. I think the better route here is to just offer more options. There are people who like the Snyder Cut that are not big fans of Snyder. They don't identify as fans. They like his work, but they're like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this fandom. I'm okay being part of the Snyder fandom, but I don't want to worship Zack as a god. I like Joss Whedon. I appreciate a lot of his work, which probably means I'm not going to have an interview with Ray Fisher ever, because he'd probably say, "That's a red flag for me. How could you like Whedon after everything I said?" Well, I mostly believe Ray, but I think some of these charges are not true with Joss. And definitely Joss has done some questionable things, but none of these people are gods. We shouldn't worship them as infallible creatures. So I know now being polarized is better for your channel, better for your subscribers and all that, because you'll lose some people, but that's what you want. You want a captive audience. But I think that's also pretty dangerous. So my way of going about it is I was a late bandwagon person to the Snyder Cut movement, but I got what I wanted, a really great film. I mostly appreciate Zack's work. I don't think all of it's perfect, but I do think a lot of these media attacks don't have a lot of substance. That's my point of view. This is another really not very substantive attack on Zack Snyder, but I encourage people to read the article, and we'll go through it more thoroughly, but I don't think there's much here. But and once again, I think these are a lot of false charges being dredged up, but some legitimate issues are being brought to the fore. Those should be addressed, but it is mostly nothingness again, which is sad because there are legitimate issues we could discuss with Snyder and the Snyder Cut, but those are rarely ever highlighted.